My Wedding Night. Chapter 1. The Beginning of Forever. The air smelled like fresh roses and vanilla frosting. Golden fairy lights glittered above the dance floor, and laughter echoed across the vineyard. I could hardly believe the day was real. Our wedding day. I was now Mrs. Claire Thompson Walker, married to the man who had once spilled coffee on my blazer during a business networking event in Seattle 3 years ago. That awkward introduction led to friendship, then long conversations, cross-country visits, and eventually love. Real, deep, messy, grounding love. And now we stood in the center of a rustic barn turned reception hall, arms wrapped around each other, swaying to our first dance as husband and wife. Luke's fingers brushed against the bare skin of my back through my lace gown, sending a familiar thrill up my spine. "You're married to me now," he whispered into my ear. "No turning back." "I wasn't planning on it," I said, laughing softly. Around us, family and friends clapped, glasses clinked, and the DJ's playlist transitioned from Ed Sheeran to something more upbeat. But my world narrowed down to the man in front of me, the feel of his hands, and the sound of his voice. Chapter 2. Goodbye, guests. Hello, us. The reception lasted until nearly midnight. My cheeks hurt from smiling, my feet from dancing. We said goodbye to cousins, college friends, and coworkers who had flown in from every corner of the country. Our honeymoon suite at the Whispering Pines Lodge was only 15 minutes from the venue. The drive was quiet, just us, hand in hand, listening to soft jazz on the radio. The stars outside shining like diamonds. When we arrived, Luke picked me up, bridal style. "One more tradition," he said. "You're going to drop me," I warned, half laughing. But he didn't. He carried me straight into our suite, a cozy room with high wooden beams, a stone fireplace, and rose petals scattered across a king-sized bed. A chilled bottle of champagne waited on the nightstand. It was our wedding night, finally. And for the first time that day, it was just the two of us. Chapter 3. Unwrapping the day. I stood by the fireplace, toes sinking into the thick rug, slowly removing the pins from my hair. Luke was behind me, still in his shirt and vest, his bow tie hanging loosely around his neck. I caught his reflection in the mirror, watching me with the same quiet awe I saw in his eyes during our vows. "You looked like a goddess today," he said. I smiled. "You looked like you walked out of a GQ shoot." He stepped closer, his arms wrapping around my waist, chin resting on my shoulder. "I still can't believe I get to call you my wife." We didn't rush. That was the thing about us. Luke always made space for stillness, even in big moments. We poured champagne. We took off our fancy clothes slowly, folding them like sacred garments. We laughed about his uncle tripping on the dance floor and my cousin sneaking an extra slice of cake. Then we sat together on the bed, barefoot and glowing, to read the handwritten notes from our families. My mom said, "Claire, this night marks the beginning of something beautiful. Be patient. Be kind, and never forget to laugh." Luke's sister wrote, "You both inspire me. If this is what love looks like, I want to find it too." And when we finally set the cards aside, there were no more distractions left between us, only the rising hum of excitement and love. Chapter 4. Heartbeats and Honeylight. The room was dim, lit only by the glow of the fireplace. I wore one of the silky pieces I'd been saving just for tonight. Delicate, soft, blush-colored, with tiny lace edges. I'd worried about how I'd feel in it, nervous, shy. But Luke's gaze made me feel beautiful and safe, like I didn't need to perform or impress. I just needed to be. "Come here," he said, reaching out. I went. We kissed slowly at first, like we had all the time in the world. His fingers brushed over my shoulder, down my spine, creating goosebumps in their wake. We fell into the bed, wrapped up in each other in warmth and longing and trust. It wasn't perfect in the way movies try to make things perfect, but it was perfect in the way that mattered. Honest, intimate, full of connection. We whispered things we hadn't said before. Things about forever, about fears, about how our lives would change from this point on. There were tears, happy ones. There was laughter too, especially when we knocked over the champagne bottle by accident. But more than anything, there was love. Big, warm, chest-filling love. Chapter 5. A Moment to Breathe. Afterward, we lay tangled in the sheets, hearts pounding in quiet sync. Luke traced invisible patterns on my arm, and I stared at the ceiling, smiling. That was better than I imagined, I said. I was terrified I'd mess it up. I laughed and turned to face him. You didn't, not even close. We talked until the embers in the fireplace dimmed, about our childhood memories, our first impressions of each other, the strange certainty that had crept into our hearts a year ago, that this was it. We were it. At one point, Luke sat up and said, "You know, when I first met you, I thought you were out of my league. You spilled coffee on me," I teased. Exactly, and you didn't murder me. That's how I knew you were special. I threw a pillow at him, but it was true. That clumsy, messy, hilarious day had changed both our lives. Chapter 6, Morning After, Forever Ahead. Sunlight crept into the room slowly, casting gold on the white sheets. I woke up with my head on Luke's chest, his arm curled around me, our legs tangled. I could hear birds outside and feel the cool morning breeze through the slightly open window. He stirred, kissed my forehead, and whispered, "Morning, wife. Morning, husband." Neither of us wanted to leave the bed. We spent hours just lying there, talking about the future. Our honeymoon in Vermont, our dream house with a garden, the rescue dog we planned to adopt. We didn't talk about work or bills or taxes, just dreams. Later we had breakfast in bed. Blueberry pancakes, orange juice, and coffee that Luke made while wearing nothing but a bathrobe and a goofy grin. "Do you think every morning will feel this perfect?" I asked. "No," he said honestly, "but we'll figure it out together. That's the part I'm excited for." Chapter 7, Letters for the Future. Before we checked out of the lodge, we wrote each other a letter to open on our 10th anniversary. Luke sealed his envelope with wax, like it was a medieval scroll, and hid it in his sock drawer back home. Mine was folded neatly, a little lipstick kiss on the corner. We promised we wouldn't read them until 10 years passed. No cheating. I remember what I wrote, though. I remember every word. "Dear Claire, if you're reading this, you've made it through 10 years of marriage. I hope it was filled with joy and forgiveness. I hope you and Luke are still slow dancing in the kitchen and watching storms together. And if life got hard, I hope you held on anyway. Because nights like this one, our wedding night, are why we began. Hold on to that. Love always, your younger self." Chapter 8, The Real Magic. Looking back, our wedding night wasn't about the fancy room, or the champagne, or even the romance. It was about intimacy, the kind that comes from knowing someone sees you entirely and still chooses you. We didn't just begin our life together that night. We built the foundation, with laughter, with vulnerability, with whispered promises and trembling hands. Years later, when life got busy with jobs, children, moves, and mess, I would remember that night often. When we needed to reconnect, we'd go back to Whispering Pines Lodge. We even celebrated our 5th anniversary there. Same suite, same bed, same quiet magic. Because no matter how far we traveled, that night was home.